doing. And so, without further ado, let's get this whole thing started. It is Fox versus Kazuya.
So that is going to put Gavin up against Parker. These two opening up, and I like the Fox as an opener. Whether it's Fox, Falco, or Wolf. Wolf, of course, a little bit of an awkward one, but Fox really good into just about any matchup that they so choose. Has a great mixture, great speed as well, and is one of the heavier characters. But Kazuya, rock solid in their own turn. One of the few fighters coming out here and being able to mix things up across platforms and across titles. So really do like it, but that reflector can catch you off guard. And that means that we're looking at a 115 to 86%. Nice up air to go ahead and take it away. Very comfortable start for Gavin.
I mean, 86% on Fox is nothing to exactly brag about. There is still a very easy combo for Kazuya to find their way back into this game, and not think he's getting juggled by the Foxtail. And 100% will be right back on Gavin's side. An uppercut coming through. Combos are slowly cooking from the side of Parker, but it is a slow burn, 83%, and it's domination for Gavin thus far.
Oh yes, and remember, you're playing all on borrowed stock time. Even though you fell there, you're fine. And remember, this is a BO5, a best of threes, so no stock carryover. It doesn't matter. A win is a win at the end of the day. And with that first stock, you've already owned up to 93 extra %, meaning this Kazuya is going to be in a really rough spot, really nice forward air. Free fall down, but now you catch him on the edge. And this should be Gavin taking yet another stock, unless the Kazuya is able to rip back. As you called, some of the combos that a Kazuya can put out are very, very strong, but you have to hit the combos first, as that's an up smash to take away the second.
Not to mention as well that you'll notice that little red glow around Kazuya every time that he gets above 100%. That is Kazuya's rage meter, and when it is full, it's extra damage. It's all sorts of boost in the favor of Parker, but so far, they've struggled to use that rage. Is still finding some uppercuts, some nice juggles here and there, but I mean, Gavin just looks so comfortable right now. We talked about the stress in the Madden State Finals, but right now we are not seeing it on Gavin's side. Awkward recovery for Parker, but is able to get back somewhat comfortably. Rage will be activated once again, and we'll get to put it to use. That's a big stock to take, and we are not done with this stock just yet.
I think the big thing that we're watching for here is, you know, as you said, it's a good stock back, but there it is. Great finish and easy access. That will go ahead and be Gavin to start things off with a set win, or game win. Very, very comfortable in there. Again, we saw how quick a Fox can be. Kazuya, in their own, has some right mixes, but again, to keep up with the speed of a Fox, very difficult if you are not used to the matchup.
I mean, from what we saw in our little 5 minutes of research we got before we came on, it's a pretty even matchup. A lot of what I saw from professionals was 50-50 almost exactly between Kazuya and Fox. And so now the next question that I pose is it skill diff? In Smash Bros, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot that you've got to try and figure out, not only about the game, but about your specific character, and the skill ceiling is beautifully high in this game. And Smash Bros Ultimate, I believe, is coming up on a decade of being out, maybe even longer than that. So there's always something new being found, always some new tech being learned. And Gavin simply has, I think, that mechanical advantage, and there's no question just yet.
Yeah, it's I would say it does come down to a little bit of that player knowledge type beat. Again, with the openers is a little bit struggling because I believe it is blind tossed out. So for Parker, you might be tossed into a matchup that you're not comfortable with. Even though you're talking about the 50-50, 50-50s tend to be, in my opinion, waning one way or another anyways. And whenever you get a Fox with that fast, if this was a Falco, I would have other things to say. I think Falco is a lot more vertical, a little bit slower, obviously, in the pacing. But when you see a Fox anywhere, you know they're going to be fast. If you're not ready for the grabs, you're not ready for the rebuttals, you're in trouble. So I think for Parker, it does come down to a little bit of that skill matchup difference. And I would assume that you're going to get off the Pokemon Stadium. Go somewhere like Hollow Bastion, somewhere with a little bit more comfortable stage presence. I always prefer longer middle platforms instead of the two sides, just because as a Kazuya, you want a little bit longer extension to work with, especially if you're trying to rock some of the combos.
You do mention that it's blind. It will be blind on the side of Gavin. So Gavin has locked in Fox, and it looks like that Parker will not change and will stick with the Kazuya. So now, what's the strategy change? How do you want to position? I mean, you gave up a lot a lot of early percentage because of how quick Fox moves. And Kazuya isn't exactly what I would refer to as a heavy character in Smash. Can be if you don't know how to move correctly, but it's not something that is impossible. There is a tall mountain to climb after how well Gavin played the first 2 stocks, but as we are going to enter Pokemon stage, now I wonder if some of those platforms will come into use. Now I wonder if Kazuya takes an advantage or disadvantage with those platforms. If I had to put my money on it, I think it can be an advantage given how quick Gavin is playing, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we're actually going to Kalos a little bit further range in there as well. I'm curious what the bans were specifically, as I didn't take a look, because I like to be surprised here. But this isn't out of the ordinary. Right now, we are looking at both the Kazuya and the Fox once again. But this is going to lead into the Fox once, in my opinion, having that advantage, having that freedom to kind of play as they wish without any platform to fall down onto. The Kazuya is kind of difficult in the middle. You are forced into these hand-to-hand positions where you don't get that free-form verticality, where you don't get to jump around as much because the Fox is covering all of their bases.
Yeah, I'll correct myself. I saw the Pokemon, I just saw the word Pokemon come up. I thought we were going to Pokemon Stadium. We are not. We're here on Kalos, which means that now that stage point that I made has to be clarified a little bit. On Pokemon Stadium, you either get the use of some stage or no stages, pretty much. But here on Kalos, with those side stages, it makes things very awkward for recoveries, for edge guarding. It just depends on what you're more comfortable with and what you get stuck in. And so far, Parkinator already struggling early, trying to find some room to go to work. Will find a nice grab, but that slap only does so much damage, and a very quick up air will go ahead and take another quick stock, but more damage at least on Gavin's side if you are rooting for Parker here.
But again, you need that great stun, and that's going to be the jab reset, but you don't get the finish, which means more damage right back. Great up air to go ahead and finish, or up smash to be able to hang on to. And you are going to even out, as you mentioned, being able to get a little bit better on the stock take is going to be comfortable. However, that juggle is just too good. However, Kalos has a very high ceiling, so you're not going to be able to finish off as easily. But 131 now. You got one more good tag. It is going to be done. What a chase, by the way. Tech chasing after the rolls feels so good. Good dodge in, but there's the forward smash. Easy finish from Kizaru.
No damage taken on Gavin's side. A big change. We'll finally take their first 37% of the second stock. We'll get a decent amount of damage back. Does get stomped a little bit, but does survive. Already quick 40% on Parker's side, but you're going to have to heavily rely on that rage. So how quickly do you want to get up to 100%? Slight stun there will keep both players in an awkward spot. No range being found from Parkinator. Parker stuck on the ropes here. Found in the air with a swinging kick. And the Fox will take the first 2 easily. It's a dream start for Gavin and Thompson High School.
That was actually also what I was really worried about. On that platform stage, I don't know if some of the other stages were actually banned out, but with Kalos, one of the big things is the platforms themselves extend over the range, so it makes those edges much closer to play into. And for a Fox who has so much versatility, that has the chase potential that we saw, by the way, really well done by Gavin. It ended up with that back air. Low percentage, by the way. I believe that was one of the lowest percentages that we'd seen the Kazuya at one point. The fact that you're able to get it with a back air, the fact that you were able to take it nearly perfect with 2 stocks left, means that Gavin is looking very, very primed and ready to go. And if we do go to a game 4, I'm assuming Gavin is coming out again just to be able to close it out.
Well, now it's time to do a little bit of translation for our viewers at home. In the semifinals, both of these teams did go to 4 sets. It was a 3-1 win over the 12 seed for Thompson, and it was a 3-1 win over the 6 seed over for Hoover. So it's actually been very nice games throughout this playoff bracket. Thompson also played the 8 seed, Loveless, and dropped a set to them. So neither one of these schools have been truly dominant and are very deserving of their 1 and 2 seeds. And we don't have information on if these two played during the regular season, but as we load the next 2 players up in another very critical set, I wonder, again, what is the strategy? What is the play call? Because it seems like that the preparation, from what I know about High School Smash, I believe that they're letting Gavin go ahead and get his win, or their win, if you're Hoover. And now you're going to get Steve versus Sephiroth in the second set. So I think you're hoping that it's one of your better, if not maybe your best Smash player on your team. There's a lot of mind games that goes on with picking your players, picking your characters, and what order you want to throw all of that in. So I don't know if the mind game's going to work in Hoover's favor, but set 2 will be there to tell us.
Yeah, I think for set 2, I think the Sephiroth, Steve is seen as a general all-around bully character. That is what you know and hate about Steve. There's a reason why there's a lot of controversy revolving around the character, one of the few characters outside of like the Smash 4 scene that we talked about, the Bayonetta, obviously having a lot of controversy around it, but Steve in general had such high firepower, such safety guaranteed, that it's still kind of a polarizing character. A lot of people still hate fighting up against it, which is fair, but it is legal in a lot of other tournaments as well. So, if we have a good Steve on our hand, these are high-tier locks that I'm going to be very curious about. Sephiroth, the reason that we're seeing this mix-up, which I do believe Hoover were actually able to call for, they were able to say, hey, that's who we know we're going to play against. Sephiroth's range with the sword is a lot larger than other sword fighters out there, so I'm guessing you are hoping to reach through a lot of that range and a lot of that kind of blockading factor and try and deal with the Steve that way. At the end of the day, though, it all comes down to raw skill as we're on small battlefield, of all things. I kind of like this stage. It's a nice neutral one.
Neutral, I want to agree, but I think it does favor Steve here. I mean, there's too many blocks, too many angles to just farm materials from, and especially given that Sephiroth does have incredible range, but when you have as many blocks, you have as much ability to create distractions as Steve, not to mention the distancing, but the minecarts as well. It makes you wonder, maybe, does this favor Sephiroth? I can at least say this. Matchup-wise, at the highest level of Smash Bros., this does favor Sephiroth. But you don't see this matchup too often. Very few players are bold enough to run this against one of the, maybe even best characters in recent Smash Bros. History. And it will be Luke on the side of Thompson High School representing the Steve, and it's Rohan representing Sephiroth on the Hoover side. So, very even start. I'm very excited to see how these two match up.
At the same time, we talked about that mining, though. That's the whole plan, and you already got Diamond. You got the Diamond Pickaxe swinging, which is going to be a pain, but the minecart is what takes it. And once again, we are seeing that float, that annoyance, that level of discipline coming out of the Steve player with another Diamond Sword. Already getting 18, but the knockback is so good. Grab coming out of this Sephiroth, and get some extra damage down. Swing once again. So looking at 81 on the Steve's arms.
Whole lot of materials already being gained by Luke. Not to mention that they're already on Diamond with a decent amount of damage potential right here. And if you are Hoover, if you are Rohan, you're probably leaning on the Shadow Flare, which is the purple balls that will rotate around Steve once a major hit is made. And that right there is it's like a time bomb, to explain it for the viewers who are watching. You need to rely on that to make sure that you don't let Luke just sit back, get all the materials, upgrade to Diamond, use the crafting table for free, and now big stun! And now full charge, actually won't full charge, but it won't matter. It's a great start for Rohan, and now we are slowly getting closer to even, but not if Luke has anything to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, 91 versus 11 is too huge, but you knocked out a lot of that Diamond equipment, so very nice stock take. As you mentioned, that shield break is nasty, by the way. Really, really well done. And now you're looking for just that lane coverage, that entire space coverage that you'll like to see. A little bit of mining, got some iron in you, plus the gold. You need to get over to your crafting table, which looks like you're able to reach, but you really want to take out Miss. Great anvil down, forcing shields out. Not allowed to shield for the Sephiroth for a little bit longer.
Decent spacing being done by Luke right now, but Rohan is pushing. That minecart is barely dodged in what could have been not a major amount of damage, but it won't even matter. Wooden pickaxe to the face will take that second stock, but 70%, and also 3 shadow flares. This is going to be dangerous in terms of how does Luke want to play this. We'll take a decent amount of damage. We'll get rid of the shadow flares for now, though. Does get diamond as well, but I'm intrigued to see, do they go for the upgrade early here? No parry, bad timing, still on stone tools right now. Another parry coming through for Rohan, who looks to make more room, but Sephiroth just trying to push the pressure onto Luke, and so far doing well. 130%, but 50% on Rohan's side. So you need to find a play quickly here. Nice dodge on the backside for Luke. Another minecart does come through. Another diving attack, and the sword will come down and spike Luke out of the way. So now we're almost even heading into the final stock.
Yeah, but this even state is a little bit different than we normally see. That's going to be a nice back air with Diamond as well. Thankfully, Sephiroth has a get back. Great tech to stay on the ledge. 109 is a scary spot to be in right now. That's the minecart backwards, plus a knockdown. 2 flares available, but a running smack to the back of the head means that this is 150 on the Sephiroth. One good hit would do it. What a side B, though, by the Sephiroth being able to find the extra Rahan, doing everything they can to try and get this game.
It's a lot of free damage right now. It is winnable for both players. That 150 is too much to count. And Luke will get Thompson off to the dream start, grabbing the first game here in the second set.
I mean, well played. Overall, very, very comfortable. And I know that we are looking at the stocks kind of leaning down into each other, but I mean, the percentages speak a whole different story. Because we saw the 90, because we saw the 100, you had to watch Rahan, had to play a little bit further back. Once you're on that last stock, you weren't allowed to get as aggressive, as we saw earlier, and it led to very difficult positions. Got caught by the minecart once, I think, in the early stages, but after that, you still had to dodge out. Overall, Rahan taking a pretty good fight, but it was Luke at the end of the day that felt much more comfortable, able to take game 1.
So now here's the counter question. Is one player on each of these teams has 2 mains listed, at least 2 successful mains listed on the Play Versus website. You have Hayes, who has yet to play, who is the Samus Bowser for Thompson, but then here we're looking at Rahan, who has shown the Sephiroth, did decent on the back half, just a little too late, but that Joker could still be pulled out. I don't know if it's any major change in terms of the matchup. Joker is actually a slight downgrade on the tier list from Sephiroth, so if you are Rahan in a best of 3, you don't get a lot of room to make these critical decisions. Can you bank on yourself for one more game and go to a third? A major potential momentum swaying set here. Or do you switch to Joker? I'm not sure. We've seen a lot of mind games in Madden. Seen a lot of mind games, even in Splatoon earlier, which I wasn't even here for, but got to watch a decent amount of. There's a lot of talent here in Alabama. So how will it get put to use? How will these coaches put their players to use? Yeah, we'll see what happens in game 2.
Yeah, I would personally not like to see the switch. I think the Sephiroth does very well in this matchup, and not majorly in the tier list sector, but the Joker, I do agree, is a little bit of downgrade. The range isn't really there. You have to play a little bit up close and personal, and you are very reliant on that arc zen, on getting that bar charge, on being able to pop out that Joker stance and having a lot of extra damage. And at that point, Steve has way more time to go ahead and just farm up mats, go ahead, put up the walls, and make sure that you can't touch. So I like the Sephiroth. It sounds like we are using that Steve and Sephiroth once again. The only question is the stage. I don't want to see small battlefield. I want to see a little bit of expanse out again. I will always say Hollow Bastion is one of my favorites, but it's right back this time to big battlefield, or regular battlefield, if you will.
You don't exactly get your wish answered, or really any sort of demands, but I do believe that this actually probably still does favor Luke. So again, we don't have exact eyes on the bans being used, but every extra bit of cover that you can allow Luke to use is just more dangerous for Rahan. I mean, yes, that Sephiroth sword does poke, or sorry, the Masamune does poke its way all the way through the stage. Not entirely, but almost halfway through, but that's such a niche ass depending on the situation that Luke may be in under one of these platforms. Not to mention that the Talus platform, dead middle, you can't really poke anybody through that, and it's a very quick turnaround for Luke, who's already grabbing the stock and grabbing materials.
I mean, the Admirals are showing that they're first seed for a reason. They know how to play this comfortably, and all the players, I'm sure, are exceptionally well learned here, getting around that massive explosion, saying, hey, I'm going to take no damage, immediately into the axe, backwards wooden swords in the back here. But of course, all you're doing is playing once again with easy time. You have a stock to play with. You even get the minecart, swing hard with the forward air, 80% on Sephiroth.
On the second stock, in a must-win game here in this set. It's getting awkward for the side of Rahan. Does find that stock, though. But is it too little too late once again? You'll see. Taking a decent amount of time. Smart play from Luke. Getting that crafting table up on the very top stage, though. A very bold pick. Does have to watch out for the Shadow Flare. Will take a little bit of damage there, but nothing major. Good distancing once again from Rahan, who's learned very quickly after the very first game. Almost does find a forward air, but nothing major. Doesn't find the up tilt either. Again, Luke trying to just simply block off, grab materials, and keep upgrading. Is still stuck on stone tools and is already at 50%. Has to use a lot of iron for these mine carts as well. And that crafting table is still at the top of the map. So a very awkward scenario here. Nice shield counter. Nice side B as well. Decent damage for Rahan, who is one major play away from coming back here on this stock. Both players approaching the 120 point.
I mean, if there was ever a round to turn around, this would be it. And right now, there goes the mining once again. Gets gold in hand, but the shield is very, very low. You need to find a knockback, and you find it with the iron cart. What a minecart play. But now you might be answered back. As you called, this might be one of the most even stances if we can see Rahan get this stock off and put it at a 0-0. However, it's not going to be that comfortable. Great low lava block, and you're sending them sky high. 75 back here, not going to land as it's a good high jump from Rahan, but the damage has been done 75% and still counting down air, knocking them, spiking them, now punching them off with that piston. And looking for just a bit more, blocking that edge, waiting for the get up. Are you going to find it? You walk right up and a quick pick to the back.
Luke going to work. It's at 108%, but will it do it? Yes! The second set in a row for Thompson High School, and at the hands of Luke, a masterpiece at that.
Just that easy. As I like to say, you know, just that easy. It's totally not difficult. You too can do it at home. Albeit not as clean. I've tried. I've absolutely tried. Well played over there by Luke and on the Steve. We mentioned that Steve is very, very powerful. And every matchup that you run into, it's never leaning drastically out of your favor, I will say. Almost every matchup will be 50% or higher in your favor. And I mean, it showed there. Again, even with the Sephiroth, even with the range, even with that floatability from the Sephiroth, there was never really any danger in there of getting taken for a long ride. I mean, Rahan tried. Don't get me wrong. Rahan tried, but Luke was way too clean with it.
It's such a punishing format. We didn't even really get to set up the scene given the format, so I guess now is probably the only time we may get to do it. It is a best of 5 of best of 3s. So there's 5 total best of 3s that could be played. We are already through 2, which means it is 2-0 in favor of Thompson High School. And it also now means that it's time for the captain of Thompson to show up. Hayes has not hit any battlefield just yet, but will the Samus and Bowser be the play against what we believe will be Chase and the Bayonetta for the state title?
I'm going to lay down my thoughts and say yes, mainly because Bayonetta is not like the Bayonetta Super Smash Bros. 4 or anything like that. It is its own task. The combos still hit extremely hard. You can still juggle someone into oblivion, but the damage numbers aren't really there, and Bayonetta is extremely combo reliant. If I have seen anything, I have seen things like a Bayonetta not be able to finish off a character, not be able to finish off an opponent. It's usually against a heavier character. However, we have gotten word that Hayes is actually opting for the Samus instead, fighting float with float just a wee bit.
I mean, I like this pick. It is in favor of, surprisingly, both characters. Again, at the highest level, this is almost a dead even matchup. So similar to Gavin and Parker's set, slightly similar to Luke and Rehan's set. So now can Hayes, the captain, once again use their skill to finally put this series, this set, put it all in the ground once and for all? Or will Hoover be another upset 2-seed story like we saw just about an hour ago and maybe kick off the reverse sweep? Set 1 will have to tell.
I would absolutely love a back and forth action. We are going to Town and City, a very basic map here, a very basic stage, and you know, some moving platforms, but this affords the best opportunity, I think, for a Bayonetta. A lot of your combos do deal in the air. Having those extra platforms float in and out will not only deny maybe some of those missiles that might be coming out, but it allows you to reset your combo if you wish to go higher. And then if you want to play out in the open, you know, deny some of the larger charge blasts or anything like that, you can do that as well. I think this is a great stage to start out for the side of Chase.
Time will tell. It is set 3, game 1. So even if you've had trouble following the scoreboard, it is as simple as this. It is must-win territory for the entire program. Over for Hoover. Can they kick off the comeback, or will Thompson end it right here, right now.
Oh my lord. Okay. I didn't realize that you could do that. I forgot how low the ceiling was for Town and City. What we just saw there is Hayes actively chasing for a ceiling stock at what, 56%. Samus can't do that. If you get the up B and you actually land it at the peak, you can actually have enough knockback to take a stock at like 60-70%. It only works on light characters though, so the fact that you're trying it here, very, very ballsy, but I like it.
Not to mention as well that Bayonetta, one of the most dangerous characters in the air, once her up B gets up and running. You already mentioned the low ceiling. It honestly does favor the side of Chase. If they're able to get those combos going, though, edge guard is going to be tough for Hayes, who can't find anything just yet. Decent interaction here in the middle of Town and City, and it will be some slow, but great dodge and great stock. What a move on the side of Hayes. When you talk about state championship moments, that could be the kickstart to one ear.
Well, you're looking for those smashes, and it's not going to happen just yet, but both roll off on the edge, and that's a little bit dangerous on both ends. Another twist, though, and this time it is a right call. Really well done by Chase to respond. You had 2 time winders and 2 Stacy's, but that only the second one were you really able to get more. Now into the second stock, though. Both sitting at about 40%. That might be the carry. What a drop, though, at the top.
Very, very close read there for Chase, who almost gets a steal of a stock to change the way this set could lean. It's only 3 games, and we have yet to see a set go to 3. Very nice down smash there to make sure that there was no chance for Chase to escape. 100%. And what a move once again. Another stock advantage will fall in favor of Hayes. Can the captain find one more and get all the pressure and then some put on Hoover and Chase?
I mean, that was a read upon read, though. What was that? It was a missile to blast, to down smash, to shield, to smash. That was as clean as you can get in a set like this. And I love that. Now getting even in on the grab action because the platforms are around. Open a spinner, though, as we see Chase try and fight back. Might be able to get the carry up, but finishes off with a forward air instead. So, 155 on stock number 2. Again, time not on the side of this Bayonetta, as right now, Hayes is on the cusp of taking game 1.
Samus does so much damage with the up inside air and also with the up inside tilts. That's a lot of punches, though, when there is a chance for Hoover to take the very first game here in set 3. But it's going to have to be quite the comeback from Chase. The spacing has been much better, but you can't afford to get a major grab. You can't afford to allow Hayes to really get any sort of room, and that's a quick, decent percent. Nothing major just yet. Side air will not be found. It'll be a side dodge right into the hands of Chase. A lot of damage being done. Down smash almost finds a potential spike, but it will narrowly be off. These stages will come in and make things awkward for Hayes to go to work. Needs one more major hit. Does get a little bit of a stun. Can't find the read just yet. This edge guard is suffocating. It's awkward for Chase, who keeps banging their forehand off of the side here. But what a move to get back in the middle of the stage and put the pressure right back on Hayes.
I mean, these twists are there. That's going to be the jabs doing a lot of work here. Up at 107. Stop dodge, but you miss on the grab back, and that should be the jab combo. Good shield out. Shoulder charge to finish. The lightest characters out there, I swear, as that is Hayes to finally find the last stock.
I was right there with you. I thought for sure that Chase was going to stick that last punch combo out, and that was going to be the comeback there in game 1. That's a crusher of a game to let go there, and not to mention, I believe it could have been DI'd as well, so that's just my guess. It's a tough one to lose, but now your backs are officially against the wall. You've got to win the next 2, and then you've got to go win the next 2 sets after this. So for Chase, the task is the tallest it can ever be.
Yeah, and I give credit, though, because Chase did a lot of work right there. The other matches we saw, of course, went down to the last stock. We get that. But to fight back from sitting at about 100, 115, and forcing a 0 to 100 like that, very nice job. But again, couple drops at the very end. We saw that attempt grab from the Samus, and you didn't punish that. It's those small drops that in the heat of the moment, it's understandable that you weren't able to reach. So no hate there. But as you stated, last chance here, last 3 stocks possibly that you get to play with. And I have to sit there going for Bayonetta. I like the platforms, but maybe not as heavy moving. If I see anything, maybe small battlefield, get a little bit of a shift out, make sure to have the stability of said platforms and get those resets in. I'm curious which stage they're going to go for. I still think it's going to be the Samus and Bayonetta, though. I like that, honestly.
It is confirmed. It just came in. It will be Samus and Bayonetta with the entire state final on the line. Now, we are waiting to see what is the stage pick. Do you have a favorite orbital while the players are deliberating?
Okay, personal favorite is Final Destination, because screw platforms and everything, and I may or may not be a little Mac main. We literally can't do anything in the air. And overall, though, I think Hollow Bastion will always be my favorite in a neutral stage platform. Yes, it does give a little bit more work to characters like Kazuya, maybe some of the sword fighters as well, but I just like how compact it is. It keeps everything a little bit more close-knit, and you don't have to worry about side platforms. It is going to be Battlefield, though. 3 platforms instead. A little bit more neutrality and a little bit more static work that the Bayonetta can play off of.
I was about to say, I believe this does lean very nicely into Chase and their game plan. I mean, Samus, obviously a player, well, with Hayes specifically, the way they're playing Samus, the spacing is something that has been very, very respectable thus far, but you've got to watch out because Chase is going to work from the top rope, slam dunking Hayes through the top.
I mean, that's what we talked about, though. That triple platform, you know, stage 1, 2, and 3, being able to get a launch off that higher platform and reach the very top of the ceiling works so well. Nice little punch out, but again, Bayonetta has so much range that you ain't going to get away with cheesing some of those stock positions. Instead, you're actually going to put yourself in a narrow, bad position. I love the guns out as you get the spike. All of a sudden, Chase is ripping this one back, and the battlefield is working right now for the Bayonetta.
Chase is not going to let both their team and Hoover High School go down without a fight. A wild 2-stock swing, one of the quickest that we've seen the entire series. And now, what can Hayes do? Again, this is Team Captain Hayes, who's led the charge for this team all season. But now with the state championship on the line, will they be the one to take it away from Hoover? I mean, again, the task is very tall, and there's a lot left to go after this potential set win. And there is still room for a lot to happen. But 3 stocks, I don't want to say it's over, but Chase just has to be careful with most likely their second stock, and they'll probably roll out of here pushing us to 3.
I think so as well. You're not really worried. You have 2 extra lives to play with, and there it is. Another time, Stasis. You got to go ahead and slow down time for everyone but yourself. Not once, but twice. Do it a 3rd time. I triple dog dare you. But do you need to? It's a final finish on the stock, and it is done. JV3 coming out here for the side of Chase.
3 stocks for good measure, with 2 of those stocks being taken at the very top of Battlefield. So I think for Hayes, you roll that one off the shoulder, off the tongue, whatever you want to do, just shed it off. Let that one go. Now you go to a state championship deciding match point, and I do believe that the map selection will fall back into the hands of Hayes, unless I'm getting my rules mixed up. It could be the other way around. But either way, we shouldn't see Battlefield again. I would imagine that should be a pretty quick ban for Hayes, based off how that just went. So, what is the strategy call here now? Again, I do not expect us to change characters, but stage-wise, maybe we finally get Hollow Bastion Orbital? I know you've been praying for it, maybe?
Granted, that's just me, and I like the fact that we did get to see Battlefield. That's been twice now for some of the players. And again, with the floater character, I think you are just trying to net them into the lower grounds. So, maybe we get to see Hollow. Same thing, though. Pokemon Stadium is still very, very popular. I know Kalos, of course, was played earlier. So, you know, you could go back into it. Town and City could also be an option, but that one was a little bit too close for comfort. But I do agree, Battlefield ain't going to be in there. With how comfortable Chase was, that was amazing. What we got to look at, though, is, again, coming into game number 4, there could be some mishaps, because my only assumption here is this is how it normally breaks out. The team that is on the losing end will always send their player that they have won with so far, just to push to a game 5. And it's almost a 9 times out of 10 situation. You wouldn't normally send out one of the other players because you don't know what's going to happen. So that's what I'm kind of looking at, and I will be curious. Granted, that's looking into the future. Might not happen here, as we are getting in for Hayes versus Chase. Same fighters, different stage, same action.
Going to Kalos once again. We'll see what it has in store. The state championship is just 3 stocks away from Hayes and Thompson High School. But between them and that trophy, which, by the way, is not that far from the stage they're playing on, stands Chase, stands Bayonetta, stands Hoover High School, and like you mentioned, probably back-to-back Chase sets. And that sounds dangerous if Chase continues to heat up the way they have thus far. And some things never change. A quick 50% to start.
I mean, very comfortable as well, but you're going to get another slide dash. Great DI out towards the inner side of the stage, but you're rolling into some of this action, and you are caught beyond a belief. Now there's a turn out, but it doesn't work. 0% right now for Chase, looking like the absolute beast that Bayonetta is. Finally a response back, but that time, yet again, that up B barely getting Hayes out of danger.
A very quick, I believe 60% before there was even a sliver of damage on Chase's side. A dream start and a critical third game in this set. But now we're finally starting to see both players settle in. It seems like Chase is playing with really no stress. That right there was very close to hitting. Will not, though, and Hayes could flip this very first stock around. The recovery will be awkward. Bomb does come down. Time will be slowed as well, but neither player is able to take advantage of anything, both the edge guard and, of course, time slowing down. Edge guard will not be found for Chase, but you can tell that Hayes is having a decent amount of trouble. 150%. This has to do it, correct? Through the top. It will exactly be that, but there is 100% on Chase, so Hayes has got to move quick.
Of course, you're not allowed to move quick. That's going to be the problem yet again. Chase is fully in control of this battle. You now have had that moment of clarity. You know exactly how Hayes likes to play. He's paying dividends yet again. Little bit of time. Those counters are just too good, and you're using them pretty generously as well. No real punishment to come out, so that is just a carry up, and again, 148, just a narrow hit away, and all of a sudden Hayes tries to up B yet again. And I don't know what's going on here, but it feels a little bit rough. This feels like it is all going to be the side of Chase, pushing us to a game 4.
I mean, blink and you missed it. It was an extremely quick turnaround on the side of Chase to grab that first 100% on the second stock. And now for Hayes, you got to give yourself at least a chance here. You got to find this stock. 160% on the Bayonetta will finally do it, but now you need to be almost perfect for an entire second stock, and then you have to do it all over again. Combo does come out, but a nice recovery there from Chase, not taking too much damage out of it. Will be up to 50, but it's just about being the mirror match on the other side, keeping that damage going on Hayes, because they're on their last stock. You still have one to give, so no major pressure for Chase. Just has to play the cards right one more time. Almost finds a catch of some sorts there. May get to do it again. That's exactly what will happen. Is this the dagger? Yes, it is! And Hoover grabs their first in a must-win third game.
And I will say, I was not a fan of the Samus too much, but I will say Hayes made it work in game number 1. Games 2 and 3, though, you saw a lot of the weaknesses. Very floaty character, reliance on the up B to get out of dangerous situations. Those are easily punished. And after game number 1, there was almost no answer afterwards. It was so difficult to watch. Just Hayes getting tossed around, but Chase clutching up into. And it looks like we are going to get that counter pick to come out from the Admirals. So this is what we were talking about. Reset on the players available. If you're not used to this, all 3 players that played before, once they play their match, they are not eligible to play again in this series. If it's a full 3-0, then we would only see the players once. However, in this game number 4, you are able to reset, see other players play. This is why we are talking about the fact that Chase would most likely be coming back in for the side of Hoover High School. And Hoover High School had to send him out blind. That's the other reason. This is going to be Thompson getting a chance to counter-pick their opponent.
I think for certain, without a doubt, we can all sit here and say that Chase is going to come out once again. So I also, maybe I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself. I would imagine Rahan will come out if we do go to a very 5th and final set. So now what that means is if you feel like that Hayes is your best player on Thompson and you feel like that they will not be able to grab this set, do you put maybe Gavin in? Do you save Luke for the very end? There's a lot of these mind games where now it gets critical, because now you are one student pick away from potentially sending us to a 5th set or ending it right here and now, and it will actually be Luke versus Rahan. So Chase hits the bench, and Luke and Rahan get the rematch.
Okay, so this rematch was actually one of the closer ones as well. Probably the largest difference was Parker versus Gavin by a very large margin. I mean, that Fox was immaculate at points, but the fact that we do get a rematch of this game 2 matchup is going to make me very, very excited. I'll be honest, I think Rahan was onto something a little bit. I could see this kind of playing into the entire phase, but remember, Rahan, I believe, is one of the other ones that you mentioned, had a secondary character in hand, so if you wish to try and change out to that Joker and try and mix things up, never a bad time.
It looks like it will be Steve versus Sephiroth, though. That is what we are set to see. So no changes based off what we saw in their previous set. And I like this pick from the side of Hoover. I think they are aware that this was either going to be the state final deciding match, or it was going to have to be this match right here in set 4. So I respect the confidence from both teams to put these two forward and say, look, we know this is our closest matchup, and we're willing to put everything on this matchup. And so now, for Thompson's side, again, with these mind games, I feel like that if Luke doesn't grab this, I think Chase is going to bring this thing home comfortably. But time will tell. We're heading to small battlefield for set number 4. Chase gave Hoover just a little bit of life. It is all that they needed just to have a sliver, which has now turned into a pretty decent heart-beating chance. If Luke cannot defend the throne, what does the Steve have in store?
I think it's going to be hopefully a lot of great action here. I think for Luke, you're kind of upset that it was even close to begin with against the Sephiroth. Any C player that I know always loves to kind of have full control of the entire stage, have full control of everything that you do on the stage, and that was one thing that we didn't really see all the way through until maybe towards the middle end, where we saw the Steves start to really come into their own. My eyes are specifically on trying to get that minecart to land and make sure to mine up materials early. We saw a lot of the early fights with the wooden sword, with the wooden pickaxe, with the wooden axe. These are all great to get early damage, but a large portion of your damage comes from upgrading those, upgrading all those tools. So I really do want to see Luke be able to do that a little bit cleaner without too much trouble.
Again, small battlefield does favor Luke here. There's really not a lot that you're going to see Rahan find in terms of movement around these stages that's successful. But that crafting table does go on top of one of the small battlefield stages once again. So an awkward start for Luke here, but already using those minecarts to try and find some room. TNT won't need to do much damage because on the other side of the battlefield, Luke's already off to a decent start, but it's already much more even than it was before. And we expect it to be like that all the way through.
And again, a little bit of information. Keep in mind, this was Rahan having to go into this blind, so you had to know this was possibly coming. Great challenge, though, knowing these getups, knowing these options, and now covering the roll as well as just a regular getup. Quickly waiting for that anvil to fall as stock number 1 goes Hayes' way yet again. Or Luke's way.
Only 50% on the Steve of Luke. Now only 60, but could find more. Nice reflect, though, from Rahan. That's the first time I think we've seen that move actually pulled out in this side of things. That's a great hit down. It will be a great recovery, though, from Rahan. And it gets awkward at times here in set number 4, but Rahan handling the pressure decently well, but needs to find this stock. Will do so. A very nice dashing swing of the sword to make things even, at least temporarily. A lot of percent could still be put on the side of Hoover. A decent amount of pressure Luke's been able to put on the entire series. I mean, again, it was a 2-0 in set 2 earlier, and it was close, but I don't think it got too dangerous for either player. Mainly, Luke just has the better start and really gets to go on cruise control for the time being, but so far, Rahan looks very good. Looks much, much better than set 2, so who's to say that we're done? Who's to say we don't see set number 5? Well, Luke will try to answer that with a firm no.
Yeah, it looks good. Rahan has been looking better, but I don't know if it's good enough. That's the question that they have to answer here. We always know improvements are there, but it's not always big enough That was just a wooden sword, but at 120, it is more than enough damage. Quick little poke to make sure you get back up on stage, and now you chase a little bit further. It's going to be a bit of a ground block, a little bit of the soil. What a break, though, on the minecart. And a great block, though. Perfect block into the KO. Great finish here on stock number 2 from Luke.
What a parry from Luke. And again, you talk about championship-defining moments, defining players. This right here could be one. Very nice 40% to kick off the last stock for Rahan. Does get another nice shield. Does get a spike. Is this the end? It's not high enough damage for it to be. Rahan does still have a chance, does have Luke all the way to 130. How about 0? How about a reset? We go right here in set 4
we got it
to
off.
the final stock. And it looks like the things are still getting awkward. A lot of damage being done, but Sephiroth just still struggling to find major room. What a parry! Spot, or no parry, spot dodge, I mean. Even I'm crossing my words. And Luke, a masterclass in bait tactics to grab the first game of a must-win set.
I saw that pickaxe be completed. I saw that diamond be completed at the last second before being hit, and that was a game changer. Remember, we talked about even being hit almost full charge with a wooden sword doesn't have that much knockback. Rahan was going to be safe. You were trying to knock the Steve out just before the tools got completed. It was a rough call, and you fell through. Still, monumental fight. Once again, as we stated, this is by far the closest, at least to us, on paper that we could have seen outside of Chase. So right now, Rahan trying to fight as well as he could. Still, though, Luke having all the power in the world said, I won this once, I'll do it again.
And they will lock in the same characters for a 4th time, and we will be heading to small battlefield once again. So in terms of these map bans, I wish that we got a better eye on the inside, because I am very confused as to why we are letting this map come back up. But Rahan has to find a way to win, because this is simply how it is. One more game stands between Thompson High School and a Smash Brothers State Championship, and it's got to come at the hands of Luke, who almost found a nuts combo to start here.
I mean, it was a good combo. You're already up at 85%. Well done. Coming out from Steve, coming out from Luke, who is once again defending along this bottom ground. Quick little Goomba stomp and chasing up. Try to swing in his heel, but it's not going to work too much. Keeping yourself up and aloft means that you don't really have that iron or stone to work with to actually upgrade your equipment. There you go. You go ahead and get a little bit extra for your own. Get the stone, and that's all it is. Now you get to mine up. Got some redstone in your pocket.
Awkward up B. It's going to be easy to punish, and Rahan will do so. Not a lot of damage, but enough to make things interesting. Stone tools are in the hands. That sword goes directly through the wood. Will do a decent amount of damage as well. Pile driven into the ground. No air attack. I take it back. There will be an up air found. And now, finally, I believe for the first time in any of these players' matchups, Rahan finds the first stock. Does find a decent lead, but how long will it last?
For anyone that's a Hoover fan, hopefully a long time. You are really hoping that this lasts for a very, very long while. But again, that minecart will do enough work. And you go ahead and free fall for the forward air. Comfortable stock take. Once again, getting a little bit of that iron tool, and now you can go ahead and swing really far. That's a 7-hit combo into a little bit of a spike. And now you get the iron. Once again, you got to constantly upgrade if you want that diamond. Quick little swing, quick little pop, good juggle back here to force the Sephiroth into 85%. It is a dangerous spot to be in. Of course, you can see at the same time, Rahan doing the exact same back, meeting them poke for poke.
We've seen Rahan come back from a deficit like this already. It was exactly how they gathered that very first stock in this game. Big sweeping sword strike won't find any contact with the Enderman, but nice parry will at least open up the door for Luke counterattack. Minecart will hit, but now both players are very even, sitting right around 100%. Rahan not trying to go for the spacing. What a move! A little bait and switch for Luke, and now one more stock stands between him and a state championship.
Crazy stuff here, and you're looking for another. Are you going to get the spike you were aiming for? You are 100% aiming for it, and all you needed was one more good hit. You haven't found diamond yet. You got gold in your pocket, but you definitely aren't going to build for it. Or at least not yet. You can see that they are aiming. There is the diamond that you want. Quick back here yet again. And things are looking dire. We are watching Rahan realize that this could be their last moments, that this could be their last fight. Quick minecart yet again to carry them onwards. Bow shield up, shield not broken. Chase back stab, nearly breaking the shield. And all you need is Luke to say please. Out goes your items. You go ahead and get some iron in bucket. But there's the anvil to finish. You hunted, and the Admirals win. That is going to be Thompson High School taking the AHSAA SSBU